There is a very specific reason why some people can literally live rent-free in your head and you are so drawn to them. And that is not a coincidence. And when you know exactly what makes you crank up your magnetism and makes you the kind of person that people literally remember and lean into that, into your presence, that makes it so that you stick in people's mind. And I'm not gatekeeping anything, okay? Welcome back to the Power of Personal Branding and Manifestation podcast with your host. It is me, Malika. I hope you're all doing so incredibly well. If you are looking at the video, I am in a new temporary setup because I am redoing my studio room, which I'm super excited about. For today's episode, I really wanted to bring on the show, like what exactly it is that makes someone so deeply memorable. Because when you can be memorable, that is when you can draw into your life so much more opportunities, that people are drawn to you, clients are drawn to you, people want to invest in you, they trust you, they remember you. You are the person that they think of, and that is literally living rent-free in their head. Even though maybe they're not even seeing your content, like they will still think about you when they log off the app, when they are talking to other people, when they are in rooms full of other opportunities and you are the person that they are talking about. That does not happen by accident. And this is the exact thing that truly makes it so that you are such a magnetic person. We're about to dive deep into this conversation. So go ahead, go grab your matcha. I have mine right here. Leading hard into yourself, okay? And so this is something that I see over and over and over again, which is kind of like over managing like other people's perception. Like, oh my God, like how is this going to be perceived? Like, is this going to land well? Is this going to look high level enough for my high level client? Or is this going to make me sound like I know my stuff? Like, is this going to be compelling? Is this going to be X, Y, and Z? And it's almost as if the more step there is between your authentic self and like your delivery time, it's kind of like this memorable and this magnetic energy is getting stretched. It's getting stretched, but like getting thinner in a sense. It is not your job to think how your shit is going to be perceived. It is your job to be impactful and be that bitch that is literally living rent-free in other people's mind. That is the job that you want. Not, is this going to make me sound professional? Is this going to sound high caliber enough? Is this approved by ChatGPT? Like, oh my God, like, put that in shit in the trash, okay? Just like in your life, right? When you are talking to someone, when you are having a conversation with your client, when you are talking like whatever, you are not always thinking, wow, like what is going to be the best hook to hook this person into this conversation? And like, what is going to make me sound like super high level for like when I have this conversation with my client? Like, you're not thinking these things, right? At the end of the day, that is not necessarily what makes you high level. It's not necessarily what makes you so magnetic to your best clients. It's not necessarily what makes it so that people are drawn to you, right? What makes it so that they're drawn to you and that they remember you is because you are being impactful. You are leaning hard into yourself and you are not over curating every single thing that comes out of your mouth or the content that you're creating, right? You are being, right? The more that you can lean into yourself, the more that you will be able to find what exactly are your unfair advantages, okay? This is what I call your unfair advantages, that like you have shit that like other people don't have. When you are going through this process of, you know, is this good enough? Is this ChatGPT approved? Is this gonna be the good, perfect, amazing hook? And although like these things matter, at the end of the day, you are the person that like has the most magnetism in the fucking room. I could probably give you the best hook. I could give you the best strategy. I could give you like the best everything, okay? But if you are not able to lean hard into yourself, into your unfair advantages that you have, it's not actually going to matter. Now, when it comes to finding your unfair advantages, I find that whatever it is that either makes other people uncomfortable in your life or makes you feel like you're too much for something, these are usually where you need to lean harder into that, which at first can feel very uncomfortable because like when you are not used to doing that, then it does feel uncomfortable. It does feel like, oh my God, is this how I'm supposed to be? Right? So for example, for me, like I can very distinctly remember how much I have no fucks to give was very often uncomfortable for like I don't know, friends or like people that are around me or even like strangers. And it's funny to see that phenomenon happen because for me, not giving a fuck is the reason, is my unfair advantage of how I get to empower my clients, how I get to show up online, how I built my business in the first place, and so I think that like all of these things that kind of make you more like unhinged, that kind of makes you more of you are actually what you need to lean more into, right? And a concept that I brought up before in another episode was that your personal brand will always reflect and expose you. It will be the thing that reflects how much of yourself you are letting through in the light. And if you haven't watched the episode that I've talked about this is the episode on 0 to 300K. So I will leave it down below for you to listen to after this episode. But I find this super interesting because obviously everyone knows that like entrepreneurship, building your business is like a, everyone says, oh my God, it's a spiritual journey and it's like a self-development journey. And I would say that it's very much the same when it comes to your personal brand, when it comes to your online presence. Your content will always reveal what you believe you are allowed to say, how much you are allowing yourself to fully step into yourself, to fully lean really hard into what you believe, what you think is true, what you think is wrong, whatever you believe that maybe not everybody is going to believe or agree with. When you are not in that great area, well, it feels safer, right? It feels safer of like, well, I'm not gonna offend anyone or whatever, but that's also not memorable. That is not memorable, right? If I think of anyone who I find memorable as hell, they're not leaning into the gray area. They are leaning into the black and white, and they're okay with the fact that like maybe they are someone that is more nuanced, but like they don't care that like they're not in the gray area when they're showing up. And, I think it comes down to like how much you trust your own perspective, how much you trust and how much you are okay with like people fully seeing you for you and not just, the polished perfect version. The more that something feels safe, the less intense it like creates emotion. When you think of like your best moments or whatever, like you think like probably your emotions were pretty high, or like you think of your worst moment, your emotions were still pretty high, right? And so that is kind of the same when it comes to how are you creating that kind of like emotion and pull, because that is part of your magnetism as a person, right? Like when you are able to create emotion in other people and you are getting them invested in you, you are literally creating this magnetic field from your energy, from your unique energy as a person that is literally unlike anything out there. And that is exactly what is making it so that you become magnetic. Not because you're like, oh wow, like I'm being so magnetic because I'm attracting, like no, like not in this fluffy way, but like literally in the sense of like when people come across you, when people meet you, when they come in a conversation with you, they're like, holy fuck, like I've never had a conversation like this ever in my life. Like holy fuck, like I wish I could like have 10 people of you. Like holy fuck, like you're literally living rent free in their head. Like that comes from the magnetic field that you are creating around you, from the magnetic field of like not being so much in the gray area in the safe zone, but being in the black and white, being in the fact that like it's okay that you are not meant for everybody, because that is exactly what makes you so freaking memorable and makes you magnetic to all the people who are looking for someone like that. Now, the next thing that I want to bring up is that you cannot replicate embodiment. Okay, now this is a concept that before when I was hearing like embodiment, I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? But, when I think of embodiment, I truly think of, what your presence is carrying. That embodiment in itself is part of what makes you so deeply memorable. I remember a specific time when I was really trying to grow my personal brand online and have my content hit and have my content attract the kind of clients that I wanted to have, but it was just not fucking working. And I remember thinking, why the hell is it not working for me? I'm literally studying all of these people who are super successful in my industry. Like, I'm doing literally the same thing as them. I'm studying their video, I'm studying their shit, and I just could not comprehend, like, why the fuck is it working for them but it's not working for me? And this is exactly it, right? When I stopped trying to embody someone else's magnetism and instead started to embody my own, that is when shit started to click. That came not from looking at like what makes someone else magnetic, what makes someone else attracts like what they want, what makes someone else like X, Y, and Z, but instead like what makes me the most memorable and magnetic person that I can be. And that comes with like the presence that like you are carrying in, you know, the way that you're showing up with your clients, the way that you're posting content. You're not just meant to show up, you are meant to own the space that you are in. Okay? And it's not about like being louder, having more content, you know, like trying to be more provocative with your content or whatnot. Like, it's more about, do you fully trust your perspective enough to fully stand in it? To fully stand in your fucking self? Because I'm telling you, I see this over and over again, which is like people that are trying to like get all of the best like strategy and hook and everything and whatever. And they're like, okay, how can I be more this? How can I have people pay more attention to me? How can I, be more magnetic? How can I attract more or whatever? But if you are still not standing so strong in your own perspective, not in the gray area, then that is not going to matter. And that is actually what makes you so incredibly memorable as a person, because people are not drawn to, those filler content of like B-roll with like text on top, or, like trend or like trending sound, or like just like videos with like audio and like, or even like some voiceover that like there's not much perspective or life to it. They are drawn to you. And that comes with not being vanilla and actually leaning more into what makes you the most magnetic person in the room. And when you can be the most magnetic person in the room, you become the most magnetic person in your space. And that, again, translates in every single thing that you're doing. For me, like, for example, when I'm coming out on the podcast, like, I'm not trying to think, wow, like, what would make my client, like, really love my podcast and really love what I'm talking about. Like, I'm just talking my shit. I'm talking about what I want to talk about and what my truth is, what my perspective is, what I fucking think, and who I really am. And that in itself feels so different from every single thing that everyone is saying out there, because there is no one like me. And of course, I'm not saying that I'm not looking at my analytics and I don't have a strategy. Of course I do. Of course I have all of these things. But my point is that it's not based from the outside, right? Just like in my life, when I am, being myself, I am not basing how I'm going to show up based on the outside. And so when I'm creating content, it is the same principle. It always comes from within first, right? And then you have the strategy, and then you have, what makes you memorable, what exactly is going to make you stick in people's mind. And that comes with first like leaning hard into yourself. And so this is something that you can start doing, which is like, what are the parts of me that I'm curating online? When I'm looking at my content, when I'm looking at like how I'm showing in my life, like what are the things that I am still standing in the gray area, that I'm still standing in this gray, like, oh, this is gonna be good for everyone, and just pick a side, pick a side. It's not that deep. And this actually will make your life better, not worse. And this is exactly what I've done a couple of times with some of my clients, it's like they want to say an opinion, they have these values, but they're like, oh, but maybe it's going to throw off some people, but whoever it throws off, it will also get to crank up your magnetism as a person and then attract whatever else is meant for you out there, whatever it is that you are meant for more of. And that comes with the work of actually standing strong in who you are, giving yourself that permission. Like, how much are you giving yourself the permission to not be so curated, to not have all this very long process between how you are and then how you are delivering your content or how you are showing up, right? Like I said before at the beginning of this episode, which is like your magnetism lives in this space of when you can lean really hard into yourself, not the 10,000 steps in between your delivery, okay? Because that will make it so that it literally kills your magnetism. It kills your energy. This is why I talk so much on the podcast about being in your CEO certainty, being in that certainty that you have and that you get to tap way more into. And what that does, it doesn't just make you more magnetic. And when I say magnetic, I don't mean it in the like super like, oh my God, like be magnetic, like in this like super fluffy and like stupid way, but like in a way of like you carry more authority, you carry more trust, you live rent-free in people's mind. Again, your embodiment is just nothing like anyone can copy. Something that I want to mention is that sometimes it can happen a lot that some people are really trying to build that authority, really build that, that expert factor into their field. But then they're actually diluting their authority by over curating themselves and over curating their content and over curating, how they're showing up, how they're talking. Is this approved by ChatGPT? Is this approved with, my high level clients? Is this gonna, all of these steps that like takes away from your natural authority that already lives within you, that is already embodied within you. I want to leave you with a actual homework for this, okay? I actually want to challenge you to pull out your notes app right now as you are listening to it and list out whatever it is that you feel you've been maybe told was like too much, or maybe you've been told to like tone down, or maybe you noticed that it made someone else feel uncomfortable. And I want you to ask yourself, am I leaning hard into this, into these things that like actually brings out more of my magnetism as a person, okay? And now if you do this, please let me know, comment down below or tag me in your Instagram story. I'm at Malika Birubi, and if you are not following me already on there, do that right now. And I will also start to post on my TikTok. So I created a brand new TikTok, and so I just started the account. So go follow me on there too if you want to go see my content there. And as always, I will meet you back here next week. So stay freaking amazing. Go do your homework and see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. And don't forget to leave your 5-star rate and review on the podcast. I love to know what you guys think of the episodes, and I will meet you here next week.